Hello and welcome to another episode of Artist Spotlight. I'm Vicki Landon, Administrator for Orange County Arts and Cultural Affairs, and I am here with our artist, Robert James. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
So you are our newest artist in this installation of Art in the Chambers, and you come here representing your company called Second Born Art.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about Second Born Art and where that name came from.
Yeah, so Second Born Art and where the name came from, it comes from a few different areas. So like Second Born alludes to me having my faith in Christ, being that it's my that I'm a born again Christian. And then it also comes with being a second born child. I have an older sister, as well as this is a second career of mine. So my first career I started in insurance, which was loads of fun. Got to use lots of creativity in insurance, but I owned an insurance agency, ran that, and then eventually I felt called by God to sell my agency and start something new. And that's kind of where this second rebirth is happening for my career, is doing art. And I'm having a lot more fun doing art than I've ever had doing insurance.
Yeah, I would imagine. So how long have you been doing art full time?
So I've been creating really all my life, whether it's working with wood or whether it's making just like, wall hanging art or stuff like that, but really focusing on actually like painting and acrylics and canvases like that, really since probably 21 is when I started. So it's been about 4 years now of doing it, and I've been having more fun than I've ever had doing anything else. And it gives me a lot of life. It helps get out this creativeness that's been inside of me that kind of has been stifled down. I used to be creative in doing insurance, like as far as ways to connect with people and stuff like that, but that creativeness that I had inside was never fulfilled until I started doing art, and it's been awesome.
It's fantastic. So you're only about 4 years, 3.5, 4 years at this, but I understand you're quite the prolific artist. Do you know how many pieces you have totally that you've created in that time?
As far as art pieces, I think it's definitely over 35 that I've created, and they're a lot of fun to do. There's lots of different processes that I use. A lot of it incorporates using fluid acrylics, and it's using the motion as well as just like helping things like flow on there. So it's finding the difference between the intention that I have of what I want to set, as well as the spontaneousness that happens of just letting the paint happen. And really, to me, that's kind of it's a story of how life is. Like, you can set up things to happen, you can plan for things to happen, but then life takes over and things can go awry. You can plan for a great event to happening, but then one thing happens and it's all of how you pivot and shift with that to create something nice from there. So that's a lot of where my art is.
So let me ask a question for those of us that don't work in this space, right? You mentioned fluid acrylic and having the flow, and that's both a philosophical approach, like the flow of the work onto the canvas, but it's also really physical and logistic in terms of how you create the art. Can you talk about what fluid acrylic means?
Yeah, so fluid is definitely that. It's basically the paint moving. It's still an acrylic paint, but it's moving as a liquid, and it's not something fine where you could just like put it on a canvas and it's going to stay there. It's going to flow through there, and I'm using a lot of like scientific centrifugal force and stuff like that to create a lot of these pieces, whether it's loading some of the paint onto a canvas and then spinning it at a high revolution to watch what is created from there, or if it's putting it on like a trapeze of sorts and watching it kind of flow off of the box as it goes onto the canvas in certain ways. And it's a lot of like trial and error, or trial and failure, and then trial and, oh, this actually works. So it's all of trying to stay positive through all of that too, of trying to find out what I want. But then there's times where it's just like, oh, this wasn't what I intended, but now I have a different idea of what I can do with that. So it's all of just kind of pivoting with what happens.
Yes, fantastic. I've noticed that your work is really vibrant and has a lot of energy and color to it. I understand that you put a lot of sort of positivity, right? Like what is the art's content supposed to represent to you and to the people that get to experience it?
Well, a lot of it is finding that balance in life, really, of just like finding joy even amidst the chaos of stuff, because life can be chaotic. Things can happen that will, try to bring you down, but you have to find joy even in the mundane things to kind of bring yourself up. And a lot of that comes from my personal experiences, so how I emotionally reacted to those experiences, as well as just like keeping with my faith even in the darkest of valleys. trying to focus on the light in order to get from there, because I know my creator God is going to help me get through those things, and it's just for a season. So a lot of it is that I love using the vibrant colors, and you can see that in a lot of my pieces, but then I also do like using blacks and whites and finding that contrast with how those colors work, and they can be fun. So yeah.
When you think about the pieces that are here in this exhibition in the Chambers, were they curated in such a way that they're working with one another? Are they all part of a broader collection? Like, talk to me a little bit about the process of selecting these pieces to be part of this exhibit.
Sure, yeah. So I did pick some in really all the different ways that I have been creating art and exploring and doing all that. And a lot of it is trying to figure out, hey, is this going to work? And then when it does, I'm like, oh, this is a style that I really like of doing that. So it is kind of displaying all those different techniques that I have, from ones that I've been using, which is the paint pouring on to the canvases, which you'll see on a majority of these, where it kind of just lays down in a nice beautiful pattern, to also to some of the recent ones that I've been exploring of just putting a paint on there and using a spray bottle to kind of show the decay of things, where like we build something and we think it's going to last forever, but then time takes over and things slowly decay away. So I like using that, and really all these processes are discovered really, whether it's through inspiration or just by chance. Like this recent one that I've been using has been inspired from me just like washing my hands after working with a lot of paint and watching the colors flow off of my hands and seeing that dance kind of in the sink and going, I could do something with this. So that's really where I've been inspired through a lot of things, is just going through and trying to notice the things that maybe others don't see, and then leaning into those things.
Is there a particular piece in this collection that was a really surprise, aha moment for you? Like, did you get surprised in the creation of one of these?
One of the recent ones that I did, which is the I Am Scene that's over here, that was one where I first started using that technique of like kind of spraying the paint away to see what happens. And through doing that, I found the story that I was telling, which was really the story of my wife and I and our journey to becoming a family. So we've battled infertility, unexplained infertility, for 20 years, meaning we went to a doctor and they said, hey, Anne-Marie, my wife, everything's completely fine. Hey, Robert, everything's completely fine. We don't know why things aren't happening. So we did a lot of battles for that until we came to the place where we're like, hey, are we trying to get pregnant, or are we trying to just have a family? So we went the route of adoption. So the piece actually shows like, it explains the every month having hope, and then that getting torn down because things didn't work, until you look into the piece, and then through 11 lines later, which is the 11th year of our marriage, we adopted our daughter on the second month of that year. And then it kind of flows all the way through there. So that's it was surprising in the way that I was doing it, but then I found a story that I identified with and was able to kind of express that through there. So
There's an intensely personal story and inspiration for it, which I love. And then I see so many pieces celebrating just joy and life and exuberance and vibrance and movement. Where else can we see your work around about town when it's not here in the Chambers?
You can see it online. So I have a website, which is secondbornart.com, which you had referenced before. I'm on social media like Instagram and Facebook. But yeah, that's really where you can find me, and trying to figure out how to tell the stories of what I am creating so other people can join in that joy.
Well, thank you for sharing your joy with us, your family with us, your stories, and your art with us. We're so grateful that your work is here.
Absolutely. I love it.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us on this episode of Artist Spotlight.